Hey everybody, and welcome back to Sip and Talk.
Hey everyone, and welcome back. We are going global today, folks, getting ready to uncover some seriously fascinating facts. And not just any random corners of the globe either.
Oh, no. We're talking about you, the listeners.
Yes, you guys. So today's deep dive is all about those countries where you, our amazing listeners, are tuning in the most.
We're talking a deep dive into the countries that give us the most love.
The most love, exactly.
And let me tell you, we found some seriously interesting stuff.
Oh, yeah, we did.
Yeah.
We really did. And speaking of interesting stuff,
Oh, here we go.
I have a confession to make. I kind of, sort of, almost moved to Taiwan recently.
Wait, what?
I know, right? So I finally took that trip I've been talking about forever.
The Taiwan trip.
Yes, the Taiwan trip. And it's funny because I went in expecting the usual travel chaos.
The jet lag, the language barrier, getting totally lost.
Yeah, but Taiwan completely threw me for a loop. It was like shockingly easy to navigate.
Like surprisingly so.
Exactly. Like I'm talking everything just worked. The public transport was a breeze. Everyone was so friendly. And the convenience stores, oh my God.
The convenience stores are legendary.
They are. I'm telling you, there were days I was seriously considering just packing up and staying.
I could see it now, sipping bubble tea on your balcony overlooking Taipei 101.
Don't tempt me. Okay. Enough about my almost permanent vacation. Let's get back to the deep dive, shall we?
Let's do it.
All right. So we've got a fantastic lineup of facts coming your way from 5 countries where we get a ton of love from you guys: the UK, the USA, France, Taiwan, of course, and Japan.
A real global adventure.
Absolutely. And hey, if your country isn't on the list, we want to hear from you too. Drop us a comment with a fun fact from your part of the world. We are always down to learn something new.
Always. But remember, we're not just going to throw these facts at you and call it a day. Oh, no. We're going to dig a little deeper.
We're going behind the scenes, folks.
Exactly. Trying to understand what these seemingly random tidbits can actually tell us about the culture, the history, the people of these places.
Because sometimes those little quirky details are the ones that really reveal the most.
They really do.
Okay, first up, we're hopping across the pond to the UK, and this first fact, I gotta admit, it threw me for a loop.
Ooh, I love it when that happens.
Right.
Now, when you think about British food, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
I mean, it's gotta be fish and chips, right?
Right. Like classic.
Yeah.
But guess what? The unofficial national dish of the UK is actually chicken tikka masala.
I mean, thinking about it, the UK has such a rich history of immigration and cultural exchange.
Absolutely.
And you can really see that reflected in their food. So get this in at Loon. Chicken tikka masala is widely considered the national dish of the UK.
I think a lot of people are surprised when they hear that.
Right. Because, at first glance, it doesn't seem very British, does it? I mean, it's an Indian dish.
It is a dish with Indian origins, for sure.
Sure.
But that's where things get interesting.
Okay, I'm all ears.
Well, for starters, this whole thing really highlights the huge impact that immigration has had on British food culture, specifically the arrival of many Indian immigrants in the UK throughout the 20th century.
Bringing their amazing food with them.
Exactly. They brought their culinary traditions, their spices, their flavors. And over time, these dishes, they started to become part of the mainstream British food scene.
They infiltrated the British palate.
In a delicious way. And chicken tikka masala is a great example of that. It seems to have evolved in British Indian restaurants, maybe tweaked a bit to appeal to local tastes, and bam, suddenly you have a national dish.
So it's like a fusion dish, Indian roots, but with a British twist?
Precisely. And it speaks to this bigger phenomenon of globalization and localization, especially when it comes to food. You see this happening all over the world.
Oh, totally. Like pizza in the USA, for instance.
Right. It's got Italian roots, but it's become totally American.
Or ramen in Japan, which actually came from Chinese noodles, but evolved into something distinctly Japanese.
Food is constantly crossing borders, changing, adapting, and becoming something new.
It's like a culinary melting pot.
It really is. And it makes you think about this whole idea of authenticity.
Oh, yeah. When cultures mix, who gets to decide what's the real deal anymore?
That's a really big question, isn't it? And it leads to those important conversations about cultural appropriation.
About respecting the origins of a dish, making sure credit is given.
Absolutely. Because while it's great to see these amazing culinary fusions, it's also important to make sure the original culture isn't being exploited or forgotten in the process.
Food for thought.
Okay, next up, something a little more traditional.
Okay.
Maybe a little less appetizing for some black pudding.
Black pudding.
Yeah, you might have seen this on a full English breakfast.
Yeah, the blood sausage.
It's made from pig's blood oatmeal and spices.
I know some people are not a fan.
I get it. It's definitely not for everyone.
Yeah.
But, it's got a long history in the UK. It goes back to medieval times.
Really?
Yeah. And back then, it was a really practical way to use every part of the animal after slaughtering.
Makes sense. Nothing went to waste.
Exactly. Resourcefulness at its finest.
I like it.
All right, here's a quirky one.
Okay.
In the UK, you need a passport for your horse.
Wait, what?
Yeah, for all horses, donkeys, and ponies.
A horse passport.
It's to track their identity and health, make sure they're well taken care of.
That's actually pretty cool. It shows how seriously they take animal welfare.
It's very organized.
Yeah.
Okay, and finally for the UK.
Okay.
The UK and Portugal, they've got the longest continuous international alliance in the world.
Wow, that's impressive.
Isn't it? It all started with this treaty called the Treaty of Windsor.
Okay.
Back in 1386.
1386.
That's centuries of friendship.
That's amazing. They've been through so much history together.
Wars, changing alliances, global power shifts. They've seen it all.
It's a testament to the power of diplomacy and shared interests. Literally.
Literally. Okay, ready for our next stop.
Bring it on.
We're sticking with the UK for this one, but swapping out food for flights.
All right, buckle up, everyone.
Get this? The UK is home to the world's shortest scheduled commercial flight.
Wait, seriously, how short are we talking?
I'm talking about roughly 1 minute and 30 seconds in the air.
You're kidding. 1 minute, 30 seconds. That's barely enough time to get your tray table down.
Right. It's a blink and you'll miss it kind of flight.
So where does this super short flight even go?
It connects two of the Orkney Islands up in Scotland Westray and Papa Westray.
Okay, so like island hopping, but like super mini island hopping.
Exactly. And for the people who live on these islands,
Yeah.
it's actually a pretty vital connection, especially when traveling by sea might be difficult because of weather or rough seas.
So it's less about a scenic joyride and more about practicality.
Exactly. It's about connecting remote communities, providing a reliable link to essential services and the mainland.
Makes sense, but it does make you wonder about the environmental impact. A flight that's short probably uses quite a bit of fuel per passenger.
That's a really good point to consider. Is such a short, potentially carbon-intensive flight the most sustainable solution?
Right. Are there other options, maybe ferries or even something more innovative like drones?
There are definitely alternatives being explored. Ferries have always been an option, although they obviously take longer and can be affected by weather. And drones are becoming increasingly viable for transporting goods and even people in remote areas.
It's fascinating to see how different regions tackled these challenges. In Japan, for example, they have a really extensive ferry network connecting their islands. Yes. And in Alaska, short-haul planes are a lifeline for many communities.
All right, let's hop across the Atlantic to the good old USA.
Ooh, America.
First up, a little patriotic trivia.
Yeah, I'm ready.
The 50-star American flag,
Yeah.
the one we know and love.
Yeah.
It was designed by a high school student.
No way, seriously.
Yep, back in 1958, this 17-year-old named Robert Heft, he designed it as a class project.
You've got to be kidding me.
And his teacher initially gave him a B- for the project.
Oh, no.
But guess what?
What?
When his design was chosen to be the official U.S. flag,
Oh, wow.
the teacher changed his grade.
Good teacher.
Talk about a glow-up.
That's amazing.
Those 50 stars, they represent all 50 states united.
Yeah, it's a powerful symbol.
And it came from a high schooler. That's pretty cool.
That's incredible.
Okay, this next one is a visual one. So picture the Statue of Liberty.
All right.
What color do you see?
Green, of course.
Right, the iconic green. But when it was first erected in 1886,
Yeah.
it was actually copper.
What?
It took about 30 years for that copper to oxidize.
Ah, so the green is like a natural patina.
Exactly, a natural makeover.
That's so cool. I never knew that. And it makes you wonder, do other national symbols go through similar transformations?
Oh, absolutely. Think about Japanese shrines, for example.
Yeah.
Many are built from wood, and they're periodically rebuilt, sometimes every few decades.
So they're constantly being renewed, yet they remain sacred spaces.
It's a similar question how we perceive those evolving symbols. Do they lose their meaning, or do they gain new layers of significance over time?
And with technology, could we prevent these natural changes? Should we try to keep the Statue of Liberty looking copper forever? Or is the green patina now a fundamental part of its identity?
That's a tough question, isn't it? Where do we draw the line between preservation and letting nature take its course?
Deep stuff.
Okay, get ready for this one.
Okay.
The London Bridge
Yeah.
is in Arizona.
Wait, what?
No, seriously. It's in Lake Havasu City, Arizona.
How did that happen?
Back in 1968, an American entrepreneur bought the original London Bridge.
The whole bridge.
Had it dismantled, shipped over, and rebuilt in Arizona.
Wow, that's quite a story.
It's like a little slice of London in the middle of the desert.
That's wild.
Now, this is something that really shows how huge and diverse the U.S. is.
Okay, tell me.
It's the only country in the world that has all 5 major climate zones.
Really? All 5?
Yeah, you got tropical climates down in Florida, dry climates in the Southwest, temperate climates on the coasts, continental climates in the Midwest, with hot summers and cold winters.
That's a lot of variation.
And even polar climates up in Alaska.
It's like a whole world in one country.
And finally, for the U.S., a fun fact about a popular pastime.
Okay, hit me.
You don't need a driver's license to race in NASCAR.
Really? You could just hop in a race car?
Well, not exactly. They need special training and licenses specifically for NASCAR.
Oh, of course, it makes sense when you think about the level of skill involved.
Yeah, we're talking high speeds, intense competition. It's a whole different ballgame.
Absolutely.
All right, let's hop over to France, shall we?
Oui, oui.
First up, the Académie Française. They're like the guardians of the French language.
Ah, yes, the protectors of grammar and vocabulary.
And here's the thing. They only have 40 members.
40. That's it.
It's a very exclusive club.
I can imagine they're very selective.
And they're called the Immortals because they hold their positions for life.
Wow. That's a serious commitment to language. This next fact is a little spooky, a little intriguing.
I love spooky, get in, intriguing, lay it on me.
Paris has abandoned metro stations.
Like ghost stations.
Exactly, stations fantômes, they call them.
Ooh, that sounds creepy. Why are they abandoned?
Well, some were closed for logistical reasons, like maybe they were too close to other stations or not enough people were using them.
Makes sense.
But others were actually built but never opened in the first place.
Really? So they're just sitting there empty underground?
Like hidden layers of the city just waiting to be rediscovered.
That's so cool. It makes you think about the potential for those spaces. Could they be repurposed for something new?
Absolutely. Some have already been used for filming, like the movie Amélie used one of those abandoned stations.
Oh, I love that movie. And they could be turned into art spaces or even unusual tourist attractions.
Imagine going on a tour of the Paris ghost stations.
That would be amazing. And it's not just Paris. You find these abandoned spaces in other cities too. Like New York has unused subway platforms and Tokyo has some fascinating old tunnels.
It's like a whole hidden world beneath our feet.
Okay, here's a quirky French superstition.
Oh, I love superstitions. Tell me.
Putting a baguette upside down is bad luck.
Seriously, why?
It goes back to medieval times. Bakers used to mark bread for the executioner by putting it upside down.
Oh, wow. That's a dark origin.
So basically it was like the bread of doom.
So if you accidentally put your baguette upside down, what do?
You make a cross on the bottom.
A bread exorcism.
Pretty much.
I love it.
All right, next up, you ready for this? The Eiffel Tower.
Yeah!
It was originally supposed to be temporary.
No way! The Eiffel Tower temporary.
It was built for the 1889 World's Fair, and they planned to tear it down afterwards.
I can't imagine Paris without it.
I know, right? But luckily, it became so popular, and people realized it could be used as a radio antenna.
So it went from a temporary attraction to an iconic landmark.
And last but not least, a unique feature of French apartments.
Okay.
Separate toilet rooms.
You mean like the toilet is not in the bathroom?
Exactly. It's often in its own little room near the living area.
Huh, that's different.
It's all about hygiene and privacy, I guess.
Interesting cultural difference.
Okay, let's head over to Taiwan. What's happening over there?
All right, let's go.
We'll start with something delicious and globally beloved.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Taiwan is the birthplace of bubble tea.
Boba tea, my favorite.
It all started back in the 1980s.
Wow.
There's a bit of a debate about the exact origin, but it's definitely from Taiwan.
It's amazing how something that started in a small tea shop is now a global phenomenon.
Isn't it bubble tea everywhere?
I know, I love it.
Kinds of cultural exports. Does it boost Taiwan's soft power on the world stage?
That's a good question. It definitely introduces Taiwanese culture to a global audience.
It's like culinary diplomacy.
I love that culinary diplomacy, and you can see parallels with other global beverages like coffee or Coca-Cola.
Right. They've become intertwined with certain cultures, even though they're consumed all over the world.
So could Taiwan leverage bubble tea even more? Maybe include it in diplomatic gifts or promote it as a key part of their national identity?
It's not unlike how South Korea has done with kimchi or Japan with sushi.
It's food with a message.
Exactly.
Okay.
Okay, this next one is pretty cool. If you clap your hands in the plaza of the National Theater and Concert Hall in Taipei, you can hear a sound like birdsong.
Wait, what? That's crazy.
It's because of the way sound echoes in the underground parking garage.
That's maybe like a secret acoustic feature.
Right.
I love that.
Here's a fact that surprised me. Taiwan has one of the highest densities of convenience stores in the world.
Really? How many are we talking?
Like one convenience store for every 2,500 people.
Wow, they're everywhere.
And they're not just for snacks, they're like mini department stores.
Yeah, you used to do everything there. Pay bills, send packages, buy tickets.
Well, it's definitely made everyday life super convenient, especially in urban areas. You can run errands, grab a bite to eat, and even socialize at the convenience store.
It's like a central part of their daily routine.
It really is. And if you compare it to Japan, you see a similar high density and functionality of their convenience stores.
But in the U.S., while we have convenience stores, they're not quite as multifaceted.
They're more about grabbing a quick snack or drink.
Yeah, in Taiwan, it felt like I could practically live out of a convenience store.
It's true. They're incredibly well stocked, but it does make you think about the potential downsides.
Oh, yeah. What are those?
Well, things like overconsumption, maybe people relying too much on prepackaged foods, and the environmental impact of all that plastic and packaging.
It's a trade-off between convenience and sustainability.
Exactly. It's all about convenience.
I can see that.
Okay, get this Taipei 101, that super tall skyscraper.
Yeah.
It has these changing lights on the outside that cycle through all the colors of the rainbow.
That sounds beautiful.
It's like a giant mood ring for the city.
I love it.
And finally, the name of Taiwan's Golden Horse Awards for cinema has a really cool origin.
Oh, tell me about it.
They took the first characters from the names of two Taiwanese islands, Kinmen and Matsu.
So Golden Horse represents these two islands.
Exactly, a nod to their geography and history.
That's a beautiful tribute.
Okay, last stop, Japan.
Let's do it.
First up, Japan is made up of nearly 7,000 islands.
7,000?
Wow, that's a lot of islands.
It makes sense, though. Japan is known for its beautiful coastline.
And one of those islands is Okunoshima, also known as Rabbit Island.
Wait, why is it called Rabbit Island?
It's overrun with rabbits. They're everywhere.
Oh my gosh, that's adorable.
But here's the thing. They're descendants of rabbits that were used in chemical weapons testing during World War II.
Oh, wow. That's a sad history.
It is, but now the island is a popular tourist destination.
So it's like a symbol of resilience and new beginnings.
I guess so.
It's fascinating how a place can transform like that.
All right, let's talk about Kangugumi.
Who are they?
They're a Japanese company that specializes in temple construction.
Okay.
And get this, they were founded in 578 AD.
578, that's ancient.
They've been in business for over 1,400 years.
That's unbelievable. They've seen so much history.
It's the oldest continuously operating family-run business in the world.
Wow, that's a legacy.
Okay, now for a unique dining experience, have you heard of Zawo Restaurant?
I don't think so. What is it?
It's a restaurant where you can fish for your own dinner.
Wait, you fish inside the restaurant?
Yep, they have these indoor ponds and tanks.
That's so cool.
You catch your fish and they cook it for you.
Wow, that's interactive dining.
I know, right?
I'd love to try that.
This next one might surprise you.
Okay, what is it?
In Japan, it's become a tradition to eat KFC for Christmas.
KFC for Christmas?
Yep. It started with a marketing campaign in the 1970s, and it just stuck.
Wow, that's wild.
People pre-order their fried chicken buckets weeks in advance.
It's like a cultural phenomenon.
And finally, a heartwarming tradition from Nara.
Okay, tell me.
There are these wild deer that hang out around Tadaiji Temple.
Deer in a temple?
And you can feed them these special crackers.
Okay.
But here's the cutest part. The deer will often bow to you.
Bowing deer. That's adorable.
I know, it's like they're thanking you for the snack.
That's so sweet. I love that. And it makes you think, could this model be applied to other places, maybe for ecotourism?
It's an interesting idea. You see similar interactions in other parts of the world, like with kangaroos in Australia or monkeys in some temples in India.
But it also highlights the challenges of managing tourism and protecting wildlife.
Right? Things like overfeeding and habitat loss can be real problem. It's amazing how these little facts can give you a glimpse into different cultures.
It's true. It makes you appreciate the diversity of our world.
So next time you hear a random fact, don't just brush it off.
Yeah.
Dig a little deeper. You might be surprised what you find.
I'll definitely keep that in mind. So here's our final thought for you to ponder as you go about your day. How do the seemingly mundane aspects of your own country reflect its values and history?
What stories are hidden in plain sight?
Think about it and let us know what you come up with.
Before we go, a quick shout out to our friend, Micky.
Oh yeah, Micky.
He's got a great YouTube channel called Mickytolife.
I love his channel.
He does travel vlogs, whiskey reviews, original music.
He's so talented.
Go check him out, everyone. You won't regret it.
Absolutely.
All right, thanks for joining us on this deep dive adventure.
Well, it's a blast.
Until next time, keep exploring and stay curious.
See you later.